Today's episode is brought to you by In My Bag Apparel and Customs. In My Bag is a brand that collaborates with talented artists from across the country to bring some unique and exclusive concepts to life at a reasonable price. For $15 off your first purchase, visit whatnot.com/invite/in_my_bag 2023. That's whatnot.com/invite/in_my_bag 2023 for $15 off your first purchase. And make sure to check them out on Instagram as well at @in_my_bag 2023. Look, we didn't already mess it the first time. My interwebs was messed up. We are just going to get into it. All right. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Podcast again. I'm your boy Prescott Killer. Today is Tuesday, It's March 18th. Glad to be back with us. Man, when one thing goes wrong, I end up getting real flustered. So I'd already do two different takes on this, and I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to cram everything else down everybody's throat as far as the sponsorships. We don't care. Y'all don't care. I hope that y'all care. We'll get down that line a little bit later on. But to get to the real crux of everything, right? The NFL season is nowhere near upon us. We still have the draft, but it's always fun to kind of get out into the open and say, who do I think is going to win the division, right? So I'm going to start with the division that my Buffalo Bills play in. I know I said the term my Buffalo Bills loosely because I am largely considered a really bad Bills fan, and that's fine. I get it, I wear it, and I understand why. But until number 17 isn't there, I don't understand how there could be an argument at this point. Like, the only team that really kind of scares me in the AFC East is Miami currently. I wouldn't like to, but there's part of me that thinks that depending on how the draft goes, you could see New England potentially swing into win the division. But Miami is the only one. Like, if everything goes perfect, just because offensively, I still feel like they've got all the right dudes that can really match up with Buffalo. And Buffalo obviously lost Von Miller, which I'm not really worried about that. You bring in the Bosa boy, which, I don't even know if it's going to be that much of a big. I know that he's going to be an impactful player, but what I'm worried about is more the secondary than anything else. But as long as the Jets are the Jets and the Dolphins, you don't know what you're going to get from your quarterback, and the Patriots are still the Patriots as far as offenses is concerned, Buffalo should win the AFC East, and there really shouldn't be there shouldn't be much resistance unless there's just something absolutely catastrophic that happens to Josh Allen in that time frame. We'll go to the AFC North. AFC North, I still think it's the Ravens at this point in time. You could make an argument now because they've got both wide receivers under contract, and there's a lot of the offensive animosity kind of out the way that maybe Cincinnati figures it out. Maybe Pittsburgh. But again, at this point in time, when I have what Pittsburgh's quarterback situation is in my lap, no, I can't trust anything about what you do or who you are. And then there's just the Browns. So it's not even necessarily that the DeAndre Hopkins move makes it's not that big of a needle move where that puts him over the top, because every year we do this where we say, hey, this free agent move is the reason why it puts another team over the top. And DeAndre's isn't that dude anymore. Do I think he'll be more productive now than what he was in Kansas City last year? Yeah, sure. He's going in there with the full season as opposed to getting traded there, for one. Two, Zay Flowers is nice enough, but I'm tired of people like trying to boost this dude up to be something that he's not. And you still got Derrick Henry, and you still have, a top 3 quarterback by most people's metrics in Lamar Jackson. So that should still be, at this point in time, barring any catastrophic injuries, it still should be the Ravens. AFC West. Now, this is where things get a little bit more difficult, because Joe Tooney to me is not a huge loss if you are Kansas City because your offensive line was already not good to begin with, right? Like it's been cheeks for a few years, and Patrick Mahomes has kind of been able to bail you out of certain situations, and you are riding off the coattails of his greatness. And obviously, the two Super Bowls that they've lost, it has been mostly offensive line not being able to take care of things up front. And it is just them getting overpowered in both times that they've lost, which is weird because they played the Niners twice too. They beat them. They were supposed to have a good front, but that's neither here nor there. But the Raiders obviously aren't going to be challenging anytime soon, to me at least. The Broncos feel like they're on the doorstep. The Chargers feel like they're on the doorstep. And I feel like just one more year of Kelsey getting older, lose. And I don't want to do this because the last 3 years, I have said I believe that they will get to the Super Bowl. And last year was the one I had the least conviction in. And they still made it, but they got the brake speed off them once they got there. So I'm not 100% certain on if I pick them to go back to the Super Bowl. I don't even feel great about having them be the AFC West Division winner again. But as of right now, they still got 15. I trust him and Reed. You're going to ugly your way to 12 or 13 wins probably and win the division. Now, AFC South. That's an ugly division, man. There's nothing good about who you are, what you do, or what you stand for. Nothing at all, man. And at this point, I still do think it's going to be Houston. I mean, you got to really, really, really muck things up to mess up that division because Jacksonville is still a nightmare. Brian Thomas is dope, but you haven't been able to get anything out of Trevor Lawrence like consistently. ETN banged up most of the time. You don't have Ingram anymore. Like you don't have Christian Kirk, which wasn't even a great signing, but when he first signed there and in the first reincarnation of this podcast, when he signed, he was overpaid to all get out when he got to Jacksonville. But I said, I kind of get it. You have to kind of overpay to get guys to want to go there. But when your quarterback has not lived up to his end of the expectation, that's the problem. So even Jacksonville, their cheeks in Tennessee is Tennessee. So I mean, Houston right now to wrap up the AFC, to me, it still feels like it should be Houston's, even though they lost Laremy Tunsil. That division is so bad. Now, once we get past the draft and have some more activity, these things are probably going to change. But as we sit right now, roster construction wise, I still have the Bills in the East, the Ravens in the North, the Chiefs in the West, and the Texans in the South. Is it pretty? Is it sexy? Is there anything that's going to like really blow your mind? No. But at this point in time, there hasn't been any real detrimental fall off with any of those rosters or any of those teams to make me think that anything would be otherwise. Now we go to the NFC. Since I start with the AFC East, I'll start with the NFC East. To me, it's still Philly. I know a lot of folks are not, they are so hyped with this Washington roster, right? They bumping on the Jaden Daniels bandwagon. Y'all got Debo. This is exactly what everybody needs to reinvigorate the franchise. But come on, man. We all know that Philly is the best squad in that division. Like, we're not doing anything silly here. They are top to bottom, the best roster, maybe still to me in football. I had Chiefs, Eagles before the season started, them going to the Super Bowl. That's what we got. And the Chiefs got absolutely mollywopped by the Eagles. And that is not to say that I think that the Eagles are going to repeat, but that's still the best team in that division by far, and they should still win that division. But Washington to me is a team that's the fun, sexy pick because they overachieved, and fans will do this every single year where they get to a point of it's something new, it's something fresh. You got here last year. How can you not only get any further? It's not guaranteed to you. So to me personally, still, the Giants aren't doing anything. The Cowboys are still messing up this Micah Parsons thing, which we'll get to a little bit down the line because apparently he's been a bad boy and the Cowboys are going to discipline him. Good luck with that. But the NFC East is still the Eagles until it's not the Eagles anymore. NFC South, man, the South is going to be wild. It's not even going to be wild. It's going to be kind of boring, but it's going to be compelling. They always find a way because the NFC South is the one division that you always know every year that there's going to be complete turnover from the best to worst. And like just storylines are going to materialize just because like I don't know what it is about that division. Maybe it's because it's just they're so close to Florida, because the Bucks play there, obviously. But then you got the Saints in Louisiana, you got the Falcons in Georgia, and the Panthers in Carolina. Man, they're always going to give you a storyline at least. But looking at that division, if I had to put a gun in my head, what am I going to do? Who am I going to pick? At this point in time, I'm going to lean in and I'm going to go Atlanta. I said this last year too, though, by the way. I'm pretty sure I said Atlanta. If you give Michael Penix, I think the entire offseason to kind of get things back in control. And he knows that he's not the backup plan anymore. Like he's the dude. And this is kind of what Minnesota's going through with JJ McCarthy. And we'll get up there in a moment. But this just feels like it's going to be a great opportunity for Atlanta to really unlock everything. And I know I've been doing this for 2 years now, too. This will be a Kyle Pitts year. If it's not going to be a Kyle Pitts year in Atlanta, it's going to be a Kyle Pitts year in Kansas City. I put that in the universe a couple months ago where I was like, hey, wouldn't it be great if we finally got to see what Kyle Pitts is really supposed to do, but he doesn't in Kansas City because they find Kelsey's replacement? The NFL would hate that. But I'm here for the anarchy. But the NFC South, to me, I'm going to go ahead and just put my hat in the ring and just go ahead and say I believe that Atlanta will. I know that Zed Mitchell's not going to like that because he's a Falcons fan. He's trying to get off the narcotic, and I understand. But that's it for me. When we move over to the West, it does feel like this is a Rams division to win as well, or to lose, I guess, technically, if you will. I don't trust. I said this at the beginning of last year. If the Niners weren't going to win a Super Bowl this year, they're cooked. Just blow it up. It doesn't matter. Y'all need to reevaluate basically everything that you've done. Not that what they did was bad, because you're supposed to, if you think that you're in win now mode, you should be in win now mode. And they were. And life comes at you quickly. And now they're not. So I still believe that you should probably even trade Ayuk. The thing is that there's rumor mills everywhere about who's going to be dealt. McCaffrey's the only one I haven't really seen anything with yet, but are they going to pay Purdy? Are they going to move Ayuk? And we don't really know what's going to happen, but I believe that they should blow the entire thing up. Move Kittle, move McCaffrey, like everybody. You guys need to do a hard restart on what you have done. And there isn't any problem with that. It's kind of there's some pride in what you want to do, right? Now, so Pittsburgh is a prime example of this because Pittsburgh hasn't won a playoff game in over a decade, but we consider them to be a model. Like the standard is the standard. That's what Mike Tomlin always says, and fans always eat that kind of stuff up is, well, we're always going to be good. Yeah, but you know what? At some point in time, you have to kind of bite the bullet, swallow your pride. Don't tank, but just intentionally don't be good. Try that. That might actually work for you. And you wouldn't be ranked or be placing somewhere between the 13th and 19th every single year if you're Pittsburgh, But San Francisco, look, I admire them wanting to swing for the fences and they wanted to try to get a chip. And, especially because when things happen in your division, you want to try to move pieces, right? Especially when you think that you're close. So they're trying to keep up with the Joneses of the Rams right now, which is kind of odd because the Niners are the ones who have this stigma of we are the franchise. Like they're basically the Steelers of the NFC, basically. Like the standard is the standard. We are the Niners. But they won a Super Bowl in damn near forever. So there's always that, right? There's the legacy franchises who kind of have this chip on their shoulder is the wrong word, but they have this false sense of we're better than we are because we were good 40 years ago. It's almost kind of like the guy who you run into that used to be able to hoop in high school and says, I could have made pro if coach didn't like me. I could have made pro if my knee didn't give out. No, you wouldn't have, but you're living in the high school years. And that's kind of where we are now. The Steelers and the Niners are kind of living in those years. Not that San Francisco hasn't been good recently, because obviously they have. Making it to multiple Super Bowls in a 5-year, 6-year window is impressive, but they're still living off of the standard of this is the standard, but haven't won one in like 30 years. You know, I feel like the people who run the internet, not even run the internet, but are the Facebook groups and things like that are all it feels like they're my age. I don't know. I don't hang out with anybody who's younger than me, but it's like that is where all the arguments are going. It is all the old head. So right now, we went off a little bit of tangent. My ADHD will do that. But it feels like now the Niners are trying to play catch up to the Rams, and that isn't something that we're not really used to that. It feels like the Rams have kind of figured things out, even when they were supposed to be down years. The Cardinals aren't doing anything, and the Seahawks. We're going to do another episode later on because I need to dive deeper into why I think that there are certain Seahawks fans who are very supportive of the moves that the Seahawks have made over the past 2.5 weeks. I personally don't understand it. I don't get it, but they seem to be okay with it. And maybe it's because they're okay with tanking, even though they don't feel like they're doing that action. Regardless, to me, it's the Rams, and I think that we NFC North is last. Um, I'm, I guess it's still Detroit. I guess. I think I was one of the weirdos who had Chicago to win. No, I still had Detroit winning the division last year, but I was very apprehensive of it, and I still am now. Don't get me wrong, because that division is still going to be good. I know that Sam Darnold leaving Minnesota is not a huge hit to them as far as talent is concerned. It clearly isn't, because you were willing to let him go and not even know if McCarthy is going to be able to walk and play. I'm sure he could walk, but actually play football. That's why Aaron Rodgers is still being hovered around your head. Like, you don't trust him enough. If you thought that Sam Darnold was good enough to replicate what he did for you last year, you wouldn't have let that man leave the building, especially for a contract that I called on the dot. Well, not exactly, because apparently this contract is really only 1 year with team friendly options, and they can get rid of him after year one. So it's not exactly, but the numbers 3,100 were the numbers that I was thinking. And Seattle went ahead and did that. It doesn't really matter, because I really do. I think it's a huge mistake. Them getting Cooper Cup it's fine. And again, we'll dive into this deeper on different episodes, but I do feel like the 3-year 45 mil is, once again, that it's fake numbers essentially. It's also, man, really, he's 31, 32. 3-year deal. He's going to get cut next year. He gets to go home and have like a 1 year run playing back in his home state. That's a cool story, but that's exactly what it is. It's a cool story. And you get to pay half of what you were paying DK, or what he wanted, and DK actually got a monster deal. And but again, money talks. Same thing with Garrett. Same thing with I mean, the whole thing with DK is like, yo, you didn't have to sign that. Doesn't really matter. It's going to be Rams. As of right now, again, anything catastrophic, not going down, the Rams should win the division too. And yeah, let's go ahead and keep it moving. We keep it moving. Hope that wasn't super loud in your guys' ears because it kind of was in mine. My bad if it was. So let me wait for this ticker to go back through real quick. There's a lot of stuff I want to get to today. And now I've only got 15 minutes to do it because I boo-booed the first one. I always feel really bad when I do that, man. It's already difficult enough doing these things live. And I don't think people really understand that there's like this constant conversation I'm going on with my head all the time about if I'm good enough, if I'm not. And I struggle with it a lot. Um, yeah, yeah. So I have to be in the right mood. It's not my actual job that makes me money. I put a lot more into this thing than I would like to admit. But anyway, the whole Aaron Rodgers thing is he done.